Hi everybody, it's Honest John again. And once again it is 9/11. And here in the USA there have been ceremonies and memorials commemorating the event. And there have been recaps of it on television news shows. But this year there's something new. A writer named Kurt Eichenwald has given us some new information. Now, here is what we knew before Mr. Eichenwald published his book. We knew that Clinton's national security people briefed Bush's national security people and told them that the number one threat against this country was Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. We also know that the Bushies despised the Clintons, and those warnings were ignored. We know that John Ashcroft interrupted a meeting of his advisors with the words, "I don't want to hear another word about terrorism." We know that the National Security Agency received reports about young Middle Eastern men taking flying lessons who were not interested in learning how to take off or land. And of course we all know about the Bin Laden determined to strike within the United States memo. Now these things alone should have been enough to generate some action from the Bush administration. But now we know that there were briefings in May of 2011 in which Bush was informed that there was an Al-Qaeda cell here in the U.S. planning an attack, and we now know that at that time Bush was warned that an attack was imminent. And they ignored those warnings also. By the time they received the Bin Laden memo, the Bush administration had enough information to thwart the 9/11 attacks. All he had to do was instruct the FBI to bring in those people suspected of being with Al-Qaeda, to bring in the people taking the flying lessons, and if there wasn't enough evidence to try them, to deport them. But they did nothing. Now, I'm not one of those conspiracy guys who believes that the Bushies orchestrated the 9/11 attacks. No, I'm saying the Bush administration was so ignorant, so incompetent, and so arrogant that they simply ignored everything. So what's the point of all this? Well, simply, the Patriot Act, the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, the expansion of government power, the expensive and costly and intrusive security measures that have been instituted here in this country were all based on the assumption that all these measures were needed because the powers the government had were not enough to deal with the terror threat. The truth is that in this case, our intelligence agencies didn't need any more power. They didn't fail. They got the information and they passed it on. The failure was on the part of the president and his top advisors. They were the ones who failed us. And the same boobs, the same idiots, the same arrogant, incompetent assholes that allowed 9/11 to happen, that gave us the war in Iraq, the ones who advised George W. Bush, they are now advising Mitt Romney and will once again have their hands on the levers of power if he's elected president. So all of you people who are thinking of voting for Romney, sleep tight. Thanks for listening.